Welcome to the ISTEP Gridded Response Training. Gridded Response questions appear only on ISTEP Plus Part 2 in the paper/pencil version of the assessment. This presentation includes examples of gridded response test items and discusses different ways that students may correctly record their answers to these items. Gridded response items are valuable because they allow an open-ended assessment of what students know and are able to do in a format that can be scored by a computer. Because there are a variety of ways to respond to these test items, some students and educators may have questions regarding how to record answers to gridded response items while ensuring that correct answers will receive credit. This training will address those questions so that students can be confident they are recording their answers correctly. This slide shows the gridded response grid used in ISTEP Plus. The student answers should be written in the top row of boxes with one digit or symbol in each box. In the column beneath each box, students will bubble in the corresponding digit or symbol. Computer scoring will only score what is actually bubbled into the grid and not what is written in the boxes at the top. So students must be sure to bubble each character in their answers correctly. When marking an answer in a gridded response item, students may start in any location on the grid as long as there are enough spaces to hold the answer, and the symbols needed for the answer appear beneath each corresponding box. Answers may be recorded to align to the left or the right, or they may be placed in the middle of the grid. In any of these scenarios, answers will be correctly scored. However, please note that if students are attempting to align to the right of the box, they must be sure not to run out of room and leave out important parts of their answers, such as a decimal point or a fraction bar. Also notice that unused boxes are simply left empty. Students should not attempt to fill their empty boxes with any type of placeholders, as this may alter the recorded answer. For example, in the grid with the red X above, the correct response is written and bubbled in the two columns to the left, but zeros are bubbled in all the columns to the right of the answer. This would result in the student's answer being recorded as 7,400,000 instead of 74. Now let's take a look at how we can record answers that are fractions. When a student has a simple fraction as an answer, the student should record the numerator, then a slash or fraction bar as the fraction line, and then the denominator as shown in the first two examples on this slide. Please note that fractions equivalent to a correct fraction response are also accepted as correct during machine scoring, as shown above, by both 2/5 and 4/10 being given full credit. Remember that the only way to show a fraction on a gridded response item is to use the slash. Therefore, students should not attempt to use any other symbol to show fractions. If a student's answer is a mixed number, the student must first change the answer to an improper fraction before recording the response. Mixed number answers entered into the gridded response boxes are not able to be correctly scored. As shown on this slide, the mixed number 1 2/3 must be converted to its equivalent improper fraction, 5/3, and then entered into the grid as 5/3 in order for the response to receive full credit. Notice that the two incorrect examples show different ways students might try to enter a mixed number into the grid. Neither of these examples will receive credit because the computer scoring cannot recognize them as correct responses. There are several different ways to correctly record a decimal response on a grid. If a student answer is 2, the first three responses that you see on this slide would be accepted as correct responses: 2, 2.0, or 02.000. This is because leading zeros before a response and trailing zeros after the decimal point do not change the value of the response, as shown in the 02.000 response on the third grid. It does not matter to the computer that is scoring the test item. The computer reads all three of these responses as 2. However, in the two responses shown in the right-hand column, the decimal point has been moved to the left of 2. Which means the computer will read the responses as 2/10, an incorrect answer. In another example, if a student answer is 8/10, that answer could be recorded both as 0.8 or as 0.8. The computer will score both of these responses as 8/10, and the student will receive credit for the answer. In some of the higher grades of mathematics, students may encounter repeating decimals in their answers. Decimals which are either non-repeating, non-terminating, or repeating, non-terminating cannot be recorded on a response grid. Therefore, these answers should be written in their fractional forms. For example, an answer of 2/9 must be coded as 2/9 rather than 0.2 repeating, because there is no way to show on the grid that the 2 is repeating. A response that attempts to show the repeating decimal instead of the fractional equivalent will be counted as incorrect by the computer scoring system. Fractional answers with terminating decimals may be written in their decimal forms. For example, an answer of 2/5 could be coded in its decimal form of 0.4 because the decimal terminates. In this case, either 2/5 or 0.4 would be counted as correct. Entering a negative answer into the student response grid is as simple as entering the negative symbol in front of the student answer. The first three examples on the slide show correctly coded answers for negative decimals, fractions, and integers. Do not enter the negative sign at the end of an answer. The computer will interpret this as an incorrect positive answer. If you have any questions about this or other presentations or documents on the IDOE website that are related to assessment, please feel free to contact the Office of Student Assessment. Thank you for viewing this recording.